Gull Lake is a beautiful and popular sand-bottom lake that is especially jammed full of people lucky enough to book early enough in advance. It boasts a boat mooring, boats that are perfect for all water sports like sailing, general leisure boating, canoeing, and of course there's also swimming. Hi, I'm Chris May, writer, producer, and host of This Day in Weather History, now in its second year from the Weather Network in Canada. But this twister on August 5th, This Day in Weather History, wrecked those boats, uprooted surrounding trees, and destroyed or severely damaged nearly all of the 23 trailers and cabins in the area. This Day in Weather History. Gull Lake, Manitoba is just a short 45 minutes or 80 kilometers northeast of the big city of Winnipeg. Environment Canada said the storm began east of Lake Manitoba when it touched down at Patricia Beach, bringing hailstones as large as golf balls to the area. The damage track was up to 200 meters wide. As soon as it was spotted, it was immediately reported to local authorities. As the cell progressed eastward, the storm continued its path of destruction. Along the way, the tornado touched down somewhere west of Highway 11 near MacArthur Falls, then touched down near Birds River. It wrecked farms and cottages, injuring at least 20 people in the Lac du Bonnet and Pointe du Bois areas. Upon a full investigation by Environment Canada, it was confirmed that this storm produced at least 3 tornadoes. And of the 3 twisters, the strongest was the Lac du Bonnet touchdown. It was an F2 storm on the Fujita tornado scale, with winds between 181 and 252 kilometers per hour. A woman was killed and 3 other people were injured when this tornado struck the Manitoba campground. Sergeant Steve Saunders of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police said the 64-year-old woman and her husband got caught in the tornado while walking outside at the private campground. The woman's husband, who suffered serious injuries to his legs, was one of the 3 people that were injured and taken to a Winnipeg hospital. Amy West, owner of a local restaurant that is just a few kilometers from that campground, spotted 3 funnel clouds that she said joined together to become one massive tornado. She was checking on horses when she saw this happening, and in the time it took for her to get back to the house to just get a camera and come back, the hail had hammered down and the storm was gone. Welcome to year 2 of this podcast. Right now, you're listening to the full version of today's story on your favorite podcast provider, but there's also the daily podcast video short. They're shot right here in my podcast recording studio, so you get that perspective, but oftentimes they will include visuals from that day's event from when it happened in weather history. So after listening to the full story, go check out the podcast video short on television or online anytime at theweathernetwork.com/weather history. Other people affected included Ken LeBlanc. He said he and his family huddled in the middle of their cottage as the storm raged like a train around them. And that's what a lot of people claim they hear when tornadoes race past. It sounds like a moving locomotive. But his daughter-in-law was not as fortunate. She was in a camper at the time. It got tossed and flipped several times. Uninjured, she at least survived the ordeal. Hey, do you like the podcast? We'd love to hear from you. If you have an idea, go right now to wherever you're listening to me and rate us if you would, please. It's on a 5-star system, and we would love as many stars as you can afford. So rate us, but then also review us. This way we can always stay on top of how you'd like to see the show evolve. Then remember to subscribe to this podcast. Click the subscribe or follow button right there on the very same podcast homepage you're listening on. You'll be immediately reminded that the next day is ready to listen to, and you also have access to every episode in the archives. It dates back to June 1st of 2020, so there is a lot that we got to get caught up on this day in weather history. Tomorrow is August 6th, and on this day in weather history, way back in 1879, a tornado struck southeast New Brunswick in the town of Bouctouche. Now, I wanted to do tornadoes on back-to-back days intentionally. It was so I could compare the preparation for handling events as severe as this that were over 100 years apart. We have another Tilt with a Twister. It's This Day in Weather History with me, your host, Chris May.